This is the user interface for Explaindio Video Creator Pro version 2, and if you used version 1 you'll notice it looks very similar. They have streamlined a few things though, and I'll point out one of those during this video right now because I'm going to create a demo project and I want to just show you a couple of the new features that I liked. So let's just create that as demo. Now if I go to add a new slide, you'll see the first difference. Normally you would get more options there. You'd be able to create a slide or a sketch scene, and now we just create a scene and we choose later what we want to do with that scene. So here's the slide, and the first thing I want to show you is just the animated characters. And if I click on the add animation slide, we're going to click on add Explaindio slide. You can see we've got the slides here we can choose from. If we go down to the people slides, the businessmen, businesswomen, you'll see that these slides now have animated characters where they change their facial expression, and they can also change their arms, wave their arms about. Okay, scratching head. So the people in these video slides now are animated, which is quite nice. I don't want to go into any more detail on these slides. Let's just insert one, just have a quick look. You've got certain options when you insert them, and then you can preview your slide. Here we've got the builder being drawn, and then the rest of the slide takes place. Let's just close that preview. You've got the usual options. We could turn off the hand drawing. We need to close the canvas first, and we can turn off the hand-drawn image of the builder over on this side where you've got all your options. And you'll probably remember all this from Explaindio 1. On the action before, we've got sketch by hand. We can say nothing, and then if we were to preview the slide, the builder isn't drawn, he just appears there to begin with. But anyway, that's the animated slides, which are quite nice. What I'd like to show you next is one of my favorite features of Explaindio 2, and that is animated images. So let me just add a new slide, and we're going to click on create a new scene, and I'm going to go to add sketch image. And for this, I'm going to go down to transportation and choose the weather balloon. Now if I close the canvas, we can see a preview of that. The weather balloon is just drawn by hand. What I want to do, I want to stop it from being drawn by hand, and then I'm going to open the canvas again so I can edit this. And I'm going to drag the weather balloon, sorry, I'm going to drag the hot air balloon off the side of the canvas, and I'm going to make it quite small. Okay, and let's click on that lock so I can actually lock the dimensions of it now that I'm happy with that. The first thing I want to do, I want to get the weather balloon to come onto the screen, to be animated and to glide onto the screen, and then glide towards the front of the video and get larger. Let me just make that slightly smaller. Okay, to do that, it's very easy. I'm going to click on add animation, and then you'll see I've got another hot air balloon. Sorry, I keep calling it weather balloon, but we've got another hot air balloon, and I'm going to tilt it very slightly and make it a little bit bigger. And this over on the left tells me how many frames are involved in that animation. From this point to this point is 24 frames. 24 frames is about a second. So let's just leave it at a second for now, and I'm going to create another animation point and then drag this new animation point. I'm going to tilt it a little bit the other way just so that it looks like the balloon's moving in the wind, and I'm going to make it get a little bit bigger. Okay, and then I'm going to add another point, and I'm going to just bring it right down to the front, and I'm going to be much larger. You can see that the bottom of the balloon has gone off the screen, and that's fine. I can actually use my scroll wheel on my mouse to make the canvas smaller and add another point which I can then just drag off the screen. Now that one I think is going to take a little bit too long for 1 second, but let's just close the canvas and see what happens if we preview the slide. You can see the weather balloon coming on and then going off the screen. So that's an animation. The other thing you can do, I can't do it with a weather balloon because the weather balloon is symmetrical about the vertical axes, but let's just add another slide, and we'll choose a different image to draw because we can actually flip the images as well. So let's add a sketch. I'm going to go down to transportation again, and this time let's choose the helicopter. Okay, and we'll do something very similar, but we'll get the helicopter to fly onto the screen, come up around here, hover here for a second, turn around and then go back off the screen in the other direction. So let's add our first point and drag it. I'm going to drag it, let's say, we'll drag it to at this point here, and I'm going to tilt him slightly. And that's 1 second from there. You can change this if you want it to be quicker. Change that to 12 for half a second, but let's add another point. And this time I'm going to have him level out. I actually want to lock that so the dimensions don't change. I'm going to have him level out and make him a little bit bigger. Now I want to make him hover there for, let's say, hover there for a second. The way we can do this is we can add another point and then just overlay that point directly on top of the previous one. So essentially the animation continues for a second, but the helicopter doesn't move. What I want to do then is I want to flip the helicopter to make it fly in the other direction. So let's just add another point, and I'm going to drag the helicopter and make it slightly smaller as if it's going back into the screen again. And I'm going to click over here, flip horizontally, so it's now facing in the other direction. And then I'm going to add another point, and I'm going to make it smaller. Let's have it up here, so he's actually flying up the screen. And that's it. So the helicopter comes on, gets bigger, hovers here, turns around, and then flies back off up the screen. And we make that even smaller so that it looks like it's flying off into the distance. Okay, let's have a look. Let's close the canvas and we'll see what that looks like. Oops, one thing I forgot to do there. Let me just go back and open canvas. No, close canvas. Over here on before actions, I don't want anything sketched by hand. I also don't want the action duration set. I want it to happen immediately. Okay, so now you can see the animation. There's no drawing of the helicopter and it happens immediately. Okay, it hasn't flipped. Let me just try again and see. Okay, I'm going to go back and open the canvas and see what's happening here. Let me delete that video and that one, and then we'll just try the preview here. Okay, it doesn't seem to be moving from that point. Now remember, I am using a beta version here. Actually, the last version I had, the last beta version, worked perfectly. There we go, and then it turns around and flips back. Let's just move this back over this way a little bit, and we'll preview that again. And it turns around and flies back off the screen. So that's the sprite or the image animation. There's lots more things I could show you in this, but those are the two things I have had the most fun with. Well, this is the one I've had the most fun with. The animated characters is nice as well, because I think that brings a little bit more life to your videos. If you want more videos on what to expect in Explaindio 2, I'd head on over to the Explaindio 2 website and have a look there, because they're posting images there, they're posting videos there of what the new version can do. But so far, apart from a couple of minor glitches, which you saw one there with the helicopter wouldn't turn around, and don't forget I am using a demo version. It's a beta version, so it's not quite the finished product yet, but overall I've been quite impressed with it, and it's certainly a good upgrade on the first version of this software.